Hi painters, let's talk tints in this video. Tints are lighter versions of colors, and we create tints by simply mixing white into an already existing color. You can create a whole series of tints. The more white you add, the lighter the color gets. But a tint is simply a lighter version of a color mixed with white. So if you have a color in your palette that was a tertiary color on your color wheel, you can simply add white to it and it will create a tint. If you're starting fresh, you'll have to remix your tertiary color and then add white to it. And again, it's very important that it matches. And that's a good test to you to get your color mixing accurate, is to match colors that you've already mixed before. So I do still have my yellow orange, so I can start there. That'll be easy. I'm just gonna add white to it. White is super strong. It doesn't take much white paint to make a color lighter. On the color wheel, the goal is to simply achieve something that looks different from the section that it's touching. So if you feel that it didn't change enough, simply keep adding white until it does. You can't possibly ever get to pure white, so you can't add too much. So this would be my tint of yellow orange. The tints are fun because they're really pretty. So there's my tint of yellow orange. Now, if I was starting fresh and I didn't have any of these other colors, here's how you can save yourself some time and energy. Yellow orange to yellow green would simply be adding more blue to this, right? This needs to look like a yellow, but have a little bit of green in it, which means blue and yellow. Well, it already has yellow, so if I just add a little bit of blue, I should achieve a tint of yellow-green. And at this point in your color wheel, you'll already have this color, so it'll be easier for you, but I just wanted to show you that. So I can add blue. I do still have some green. I could add this too. So just by adding a little bit of that, it changed ever so slightly. It still looks like a yellow. If I feared it got too green, I could add a little bit of yellow back into it, but it still has that white in it, so it's still a tint. So this would be my yellow-green tint, and you can see how it's just slightly different from my yellow-orange tint. So you're gonna get an entire ring of tertiary tints, okay? And again, you can just continue mixing color into each of them and work your way around if you want to, if you understand how to do that. If you don't, you'll simply have to rematch your tertiary color and then add white. And remember, you can't possibly add too much white because you're never gonna mix something with white and have it become white again, okay? So lots of white so that it looks significantly lighter. Then we get to talk about shades. All right, it's time to talk mixing shades. Nobody enjoys doing this because they're not as pretty as the tints and they're a little harder to achieve. But it is a very important skill and it's going to make all of your paintings way better if you totally understand how to mix shades. Shades are darker versions of colors. The very elementary way of creating shades is to simply add black to a color. Yes, that would darken it. However, it makes everything look darker in the same way and it just won't make your paintings look as three-dimensional if you're doing still life painting or portraiture or something like that. So I'm going to teach you how to professionally mix shades, and it is going to change your life in terms of how like representational, realistic, three-dimensional your future paintings can be. To mix shades, instead of using black is forbidden in this classroom, you are going to mix complementary colors. Complementary colors are colors that are opposite or across from each other on the color wheel. So there are 3 sets of them. We're talking the traditional color wheel here. Yellow and purple are one set. Yellow complements purple, purple complements yellow. Goes back and forth. Red and green are opposites, therefore they are complementary. And lastly, blue and orange. Now I know it sounds weird that if I tell you yellow makes purple darker, you create a shade, but it's true, it really works. Trust me, you're about to witness some magic. So when mixing shades, you can mix just teeny amounts of complements into each other to get something that's only slightly darker. Or you can mix like 50-50 and get something that's almost like black or brown, depending on which colors you're mixing together. We're gonna start with the red and green mixture. So if I wanted to create a shade of red that is a darker version of red, I am going to mix green into it. If I mix a 50-50 mix of red and green, I'm going to get brown. So you don't want to mix that much of each color. Instead, you want to mix only a tiny bit of the color's complement that you're trying to get darker. So if I'm trying to make a dark red, I'm going to mix lots of red with only a small amount of green. That's going to keep it a shade of red. If I use lots of green and only a tiny bit of red, that's going to give me a shade of green. So it works both ways. So let me demonstrate for you. First, I just need some red. I have a little bit of green right here, so that's what I'm going to use to show you. So here's my lots of red. Now I need tiny amount of green. Now here you definitely want to be conservative with your paint mixing. Okay, so don't put too much green or you're going to ruin it and then you're going to have to start all over. Use little bits at a time, see how it changes, and then you can add more if you need to. So you can see how small that amount of green is. Remember, mix completely. Don't leave any of this out. I'm not sure how well you're seeing this on your screen, but it did change. See if you can compare these two. Did it change enough? It could definitely change more before it becomes brown. So I'm going to add a little more of that green that I still have. Mix it again. Keep mixing little bits at a time. Again, the goal here is to get something darker than this, darker than my initial red. So until they really look different, I'm not going to stop mixing. We still want it to look red though. If it starts to look green, we added way too much green. If it starts to look brown, we're at a 50-50 mix. Now, if you were starting fresh, your green would have to be exactly like the green on your color wheel in order for this to work. If it's not, you're gonna start to get all these weird colors that don't make any sense